Welcome to UNCAGED, a show that celebrates thought leadership from today's top business leaders. The program provides a voice to amazing executives from around the globe who are shaping the world of business today and mapping the path to the commerce of tomorrow. Today, we're speaking with Brian Doyle. Hey, Brian, how are you?
I'm good, Ben. How are you?
I'm well. It's great to talk with you, Brian. Brian is the president at Holden Advisors, a management consulting company focused on increasing companies' profit by transforming their pricing, negotiation, and sales approach to deliver improved customer experiences with higher profits. All of those things I know are tricky and challenging, especially pricing and negotiation, and I'm excited to hear more about what Holden Advisors is doing in that area. But before we get there, Brian, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career.
Okay. It's been a windy path to get to where I am today, Ben. Started my professional career as an Air Force C-17 pilot, where I had the opportunity to, among other things, fly combat missions, protecting the refugees in Kosovo, and transport the presidential motorcade around the world. So 6 continents and about 40 different countries. From there, I became a Six Sigma Master Black Belt at General Electric. And while improving processes was great, I felt like I could make a bigger impact on the business if I moved to the front end in sales and marketing. And so I moved within GE to lead a sales group and then marketing at what later became Genworth Financial. And then moved into leadership roles at some smaller customer experience firms. And as you said, I'm currently the president at Holden Advisors, specializing in business-to-business pricing and negotiations.
I mean, quite a background, and I have probably a million questions on almost every aspect of your life. But let's focus on what you're doing now at Holden Advisors. It seems really interesting, and I would love to hear how you guys approach this space.
We have 3 main areas where we help clients, and that's assessing what's going on for them in the context of their business. It's helping them price with confidence, and then it's also helping them what we call selling with backbone. And what makes me excited about what we're doing today is that in all 3 areas, our clients are seeing significant positive results. The first is in, like I said, assessing that client's current situation, whether it be where, how, or when to change their pricing strategy. And to give you an example, we just finished a project that led our client to seeing a 55% increase in top line revenue, and that equated to $86 million. So these are big dollar amounts we're working on. The second area is that's going so well is enabling our clients to price with confidence.
Right.
Because anytime you raise prices, the first concern that comes to mind is, yeah, but am I going to lose all my customers? And the key here is it's understanding your value and then having the confidence to communicate that value to your customers along with the price increase. And we had a client last year who we ended up doubling their price, and that's to the tune of like $100 million of extra revenue. So again, a big number. And when it was all said and done, they didn't lose a single customer.
Wow.
So that's the sort of balance we're trying to strike. And lastly, it's about selling with backbone, with confidence, because we know that the best pricing strategy in the world is meaningless if your sales team can't defend it in negotiations with their customers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting. I like the phrase pricing with confidence and selling with backbone. I would imagine, obviously, if you're confident about your pricing, it gives you a little bit more of a stronger backbone as well. But I mean, I look at the landscape today, the broader business landscape, and we see pricing changing dramatically as companies, enterprises really, I guess, explore what they should do with inflation. Tell me a little bit about what's happening out there.
Yeah, there's 2 main issues that have happened either due to inflation in general or because of the pandemic. And that's those inflationary pressures and the supply chain disruptions. They've created a lot of challenges for businesses. They've created some opportunities too. And I feel like this moment in time represents an inflection point for so many companies, because deciding how to handle supply chain issues, how to handle inflationary pressures can make or break a company for years to come.
Yeah.
And so it's, you really need to understand your value. And when I say value in the business to business context, I mean one of three things. Either you're increasing your customers' revenue, you're decreasing their costs, or you're minimizing their risk. And when you think about like supply chain, and think about that for a minute. If you're able to supply your customers with consistent quality products or services without interruption, that's of incredible value in this day and age. And if companies have worked, if they can fulfill on that, they've worked incredibly hard to create that sort of process, and they need to get paid for that value.
Right.
And so what we're doing is we're helping them recognize, quantify, and communicate that value so that both parties get it, both parties feel good about it, and then our clients get to see the fruits, meaning the profits of that labor.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting to explore the topics of pricing and really kind of how you approach sales and really try to capture value. You're absolutely right. I feel that the discussion of pricing often gets controlled at the wrong points of understanding it. So, you'll see people say, well, Susie's apple shop is selling apples at this price, and there's kind of a panic. And in reality, it's squarely on what you're talking about, which is the true value and being able to explain that in an articulate way, as well as be consistent, especially in a world that's so inconsistent. And I guess, over the last couple of years, it's been a bumpy time for all of us. And certainly the pandemic has had personal as well as professional challenges. Just be curious to see how you and Holden Advisors have approached that and kind of what insights have come from that period.
So one of the things that was a major point in time for us was we do a lot of workshops for commercial teams to help them negotiate, sell with backbone.
Yeah.
And 2.5 years ago, they were all in person. So we had to make a decision. Is this pandemic the flu, or is it something that's going to stick around? And we put our heads together and said, we think this is going to be a long-term event. And went from, that was the end of February in 2020, we said, we have to make our workshops virtual. And on May 4th, we had our first virtual workshop. I was really proud of the team's ability to pivot so quickly, because it's not just the same material. How do you can't sit on a Zoom call for 8 hours in one day and hope to retain things. So how do we break it apart? How do we make it more engaging? How do we do all these things that we didn't have to worry about, when we were standing in front of folks?
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. And that resiliency of teams to survive, but also innovate and change has been, I think, amazing. Probably because of all the pain over the last couple of years, perhaps people aren't ready to reflect on all of that yet. Some of the innovation that happened during the last couple of years has just been phenomenal. But that digital shift, what an incredible story, and probably a huge impact, I would imagine, on how companies are approaching sales.
That's right. So for the longest time, a salesperson couldn't take their customer out to lunch. They couldn't fly around the country and go visit them. They had to have a different sort of approach, a different kind of model. And you had to be more succinct and more direct in, this is what I can do for you. because not only was there the difference in terms of the virtual, but not in person, but whereas if you're selling to me, you used to have, I'll be generous, 10% of my mind share, and I was listening to you. During the pandemic, you had about a 0.5% of my mind share because there were so many other things going on in my world that I couldn't spend 2 hours with you to learn all about what you could do for me. You had to hit me between the eyes quickly and catch my attention.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. And I think that the interesting challenge now is almost maybe that step sideways in a way, which is the world has evolved into what it is today, which is people are doing those digital workshops like your team is doing, and sales approaches have shifted. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts for 2022. How does this change the landscape in the short term?
Well, in terms of big challenges for us, it is there's certain parts of the market that are exploding. Our industry is one where people are starting to say we could really need some help. We could really use some help navigating this new environment. And so on the business development side, that's awesome for us. On the challenging side, it's hiring great people, because Reed and Carolyn Holden built an amazing organization over the last 20 years. And we have to make sure that we maintain the quality results that we were talking about before that we provide to our clients, and the wonderful team culture that we have. But we've grown rapidly over the last couple of years. And so how do I maintain that balance? And our approach, I think, is different than some of the other consulting firms in that we take some extra time to make sure our candidates are a great fit for us, and equally as important, we're a great fit for them. And I feel good about our new hires they're gonna get the mentoring they need to have a real world impact and still maintain some work-life balance. But are we doing the work they want to do? And so what happens is sometimes that extra rigor makes it so that we don't move fast enough. We lose candidates to somebody else. But the flip side is the people that we end up with. I'm really proud of the team. Both the folks we've had for a while and the folks we've hired in the last year.
Yeah, it's a really good point. It is a challenge. You want to maintain culture. You want to make sure that you're consistent, but it is a competitive job market right now, and getting that talent and getting them committed into your strategies is always the challenge. Although I would tell you, based on what we're talking about today, any person that's interested in business really needs to understand pricing, negotiation, and sales.
Right.
So I often talk to people that have wonderful ideas, and they spend ages on developing those ideas, and they have no sales strategy, and they have no commercial pricing strategy either. And you look at them and you're like, this is an elegant hobby that you've developed.
That's right.
Right. Until you, I guess I'm a little old school in the regard where it's like, until you have somebody that's willing to pay for it, you probably don't have a business. So, well, Brian, thank you so much for being on Uncaged. If someone wanted to learn more about Holden Advisors, where should they find you?
Our website is holdenadvisors with an S on the end.com. And that's a great place to go. We're actually just redoing our website. So it's an even better place to go, and we'll be in a month even better.
Awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much for being on Uncaged today. We've been speaking with Brian Doyle. He is the president at Holden Advisors, which is a management consulting company focused on increasing companies' profit by transforming their pricing, negotiation, and sales approach to deliver improved customer experiences with higher profits. We've been talking about the business landscape today, the challenges that companies are facing with a I'd say, a landscape where pricing is changing rapidly, and individuals and companies and enterprises really need to think through these big points to continue to survive and thrive going forward. Brian, thank you so much for being on UNCAGED today. We look forward to having you back.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.